Welcome to
Coffee with Toffees.
Let's do this!
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where you're watching from wherever you are in the world, as this is a big international show for us today. My name is Toffees, as always, bringing you the action here. You can follow me at Toffees_Dota2, and this is Coffee with Toffees, brought to you by the folks at Razer. MM1.FM, the brand new app you can use to track eSports, specifically Dota 2, and as well as find podcasts there. And Betway Betting, which is a brand new company. It's the safest way to bet your cash on Dota 2 events, so you can check that out, especially if you're in the Eurozone, because I know that North America has some laws against it, but everyone else is wide open to bet that hard-earned money on your top-notch knowledge of Dota 2. And I'm joined here today by our guest. He is the top man at Ninjas in Pyjamas. He is Simon, and I think I'm going to say this correctly, Handsken? Hog?
Yeah,
is that correct?
That's fine. Like, I think it would be pretty tough here to do the Swedish pronunciation, which is pretty much Handsken, but that's like,
Handsken.
The American version is fine.
All right, so I'm going to try my best to get Handsken. But it should be entertaining if nothing else. So he's joining me here today. Glad to have you on board with us. And normally we kind of fluff a little bit and talk about the sort of what's your background, where you come from. But you did a couple of interviews, and in one of them you mentioned that you have a history of PC and console gaming prior to joining Dota. I do hear that one of those games that you got your start with is also the game where you got your name, and that is World of Warcraft. And it seems like a lot of players in Dota and beyond got their start in that game. Is there any, and a lot of folks ask this, is there any meaning to the glove besides the fact that it's just a word?
No, not really. Like, it just happened to be like a random ass name we just came up with on the spot. It doesn't really have a connection to anything specific. Just something that I kept because I was known for it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, when you played World of Warcraft, did you play it all the way through? Did you get intensely into it like so many people, or was it just sort of a casual fixation for a few weeks and then you moved on with your life?
Well, I kind of quit and like restarted playing a lot of times. I started playing like in TBC. It was mostly about PvP. I didn't really like the lore and the leveling and the rating so much, but just played a lot of PvP with my real life friends, and I played for a year or two, and then I quit, and I kind of came back for every expansion there was, apart from the last one or two. So I've been back and forth a lot in that game.
Now, was there ever any competitive level to that, or was it just sort of you enjoyed doing some PvP with your friends when they were on?
Well, sorry.
Did you get to the point where you were looking for sponsors, where you were going to events, where you were trying to like get to the top of the brackets?
Oh, nothing like that. I was always a bit competitively like involved, but not in a way that I was like trying to make a living off it or anything like that. It was just for fun, but still trying to be serious about it.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Yep. Okay, interesting. So that's how we got our start. For those of you who asked, it's just the glove, nothing to it. Has nothing to do with the Dota item either. It just is what it is. Now let's talk a little bit about your sort of transition. I want to talk about going to Han competitively and then sort of moving into Dota 2, which a lot of our fans are really curious about. You guys sort of came with a group of fans from Han that know you very well, but I feel like especially when we talk about, and not Western Dota European, but Western North American Dota and South American, a lot of our fans here don't really know Ninjas in Pyjamas very well. In fact, I think most of the casters out of the North American region struggled with calling you LeJohns for the first couple of months that you formed your team instead of Lions, which I thought was pretty interesting. Now, asking about that specifically, was that name, Lions, was that sort of a nod to the club that you guys came from back in Han? Does it have anything to do with that?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I wasn't in the original lineup of Lions. It was... So, actually, like, to like describe what happened, we have to go back a little bit. So, Lions eSports Club, which is a Norwegian organization, they had actually a couple of Han teams. I think there was like 2 or 3 different ones. That was all pretty successful.
Okay.
So the first iteration of the Dota team was actually like a reunited version of the first Han roster, which was like Minats, Fitzgay, Relo, Era, and instead of S4 they had Jonas. So that was pretty much a team. And which is funny because me, Silkid, and Limp, or actually not Limp, but we also played representing that organization. So I guess it just made sense to keep the name, but I was not in the original Lions roster.
Okay, but it did have some history for you guys as you transitioned over. I did know that as I looked backwards through, your past play, it was hard. I'm going to admit this to everybody who's listening. It was tough at times to find past interviews or things from the Han era, as I would find a lead on a website and sort of try to follow it, and then the website just wouldn't exist anymore that the interview was posted on, as apparently I think Han has had a huge fall off, especially over the last year. So that was a little bit tough. But what I did know is that you, and you'll have to forgive me because once again, I am a Dota 2 junkie. I never even played Han, so I don't have a lot of history in terms of that competitive grouping. But it seems like Seal Kid and I'm going to try it, Yana Sumfan have been with you for a long time.
Yeah.
First, how do we pronounce that? Because a lot of folks want to say, I know it's not Jonas. How do you actually say that when I'm casting it?
I think he's fine with people saying it the American way, which is Jonas som fan, I guess. But the Swedish way is Jonas som fan. It's pretty hard for you, I can imagine. But
yeah, it's like talking to you is like watching an episode of Vikings. It's super cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys get that over there? And do you think it's a good show? Like we love that in the States right now.
What was the name again?
It's called Vikings. It's about
Vikings. I'm not sure if I watched it. Maybe I should.
You should. I'm a history buff, and it's made by the History Channel about Ragnar Lothbrok and his invasion of England. So
Sounds cool.
It is pretty phenomenal. All right, because I know that you said you like to watch TV. I was hoping that was one of the shows, but apparently not. You've been with them for a while. Did you guys meet in other games, or did you sort of run into them in Han specifically? And how did that go about you meeting them and then forming a team that became one of the powerhouses in Han towards the back end?
Well, let's start with Silkid because originally it was me and him that ended up. So a long time ago, I tried out for a team that he was in, and it was not a team that I really wanted to join myself, but I saw potential in him, so I kind of wanted to try team, and so I kind of grabbed him from that team, asked him if he wanted to play with me, and I ended up playing with a couple of other guys. That's Han people, they were called Super KG, Krebson, and another guy called LG. They're probably not known in the Dota scene at all, but just to mention it. And we created a team, and then we had some roster changes. We happened to pick up Jonas 6 months, 8 months after that. And then ever since, we've been playing with each other, the three of us. It's been 3 years with Silky and 2 years with Jonas now, so.
Oh, wow. That's a long, that's a long time for for Dota, but also for esports in general. And I feel like I watched an interview where you talked about how your team is unique because you guys get along really well, have similar senses of humor, similar personalities. Does that still stand true with the team? Do you guys... I guess here's a good way to ask it. I feel like when I watch a lot of pros, they play together for scrims, they play together for games, and then whenever they're by themselves or pubbing, they're never playing with their teammates. Do you guys find yourself wanting to play together outside of team events, or is it pretty much like everyone else?
Yeah, when we have the intention to play Dota outside of scrims and tournaments, yeah, we definitely play with each other. But I'd say it's more we get along in a friendly level. I hang out with them in my spare time even if it's not esports related, when I get the chance to, and we don't view each other as colleagues as some other teams might. It's more like a friendly thing.
Wow, that's cool, and that's refreshing to hear, because that sort of harkens back to the roots of esports, right? Yes, we've become this industry with tons of money in it and sponsors and making a living playing games or doing broadcasts and things, but this all comes back to when I started playing and when you started playing, and we used to huck our computers across a campus to play for a 6-pack of beer with our friends, and that's sort of what esports grew out of. So I think meeting a team that sort of has that mentality is always refreshing for us to see. I get the business side, but I think sometimes we miss that relationship side that esports made so available to all of us. Now, did you guys make the jump to Dota together, or did you sort of meet back up when you got here?
Well, the team kind of shattered a bit when when Han started dying. We kind of all grew tired of that game, so we just decided hey, let's try Dota, see how it goes. and like we kind of understood that we weren't gonna be like good to play competitively right off the bat. So we all just decided, hey, let's play matchmaking for maybe 2 or 3 months and see how it goes. And then we didn't have a full roster at the time, so it was just me, Silken, and Jonas basically. And Jonas had offered to play with the Lions lineup with Minus and Aaron, those guys. So of course he should have taken the shot, and he ended up playing with them for 2 months. And then, as well as me and Silke, happened to try out for Team Coast for like 1 or 2 months. And so, yeah, we had like kind of a break for like 2 or 3 months, something like that. And then we kind of, I guess we just reunited in a way, like that's how it went.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you this, as you brought it up. You got bored of Han. In an interview in 2013 with a group called Snowflake Productions, they asked you what makes you so dedicated to Heroes of Newerth. And you said, I don't know, man, I just love this game. What about it changed, between 2013 and 2014 when you sort of made the transition?
Well, it was not really a matter of the game itself. It was more about competition. Actually, if you have read some of the history, there was always a big rivalry between our team, BMG, and Stay Green, which is Swindlemelon's team, which is some parts of the current Complexity Gaming of Dota 2. So we had a pretty big rivalry, and after one of the biggest tournaments, which was held in Thailand that spring, they decided to leave the game, and because they've had been quite dominant for the time. So after that, we kind of became the top team for like 4 months or something. I don't think we lost a single game during that time, and we didn't scrim at all. It was just like we were, not to be cocky or anything, but we were just too good for the game at the time. So we kind of just wanted to try out how it went in Dota, and like we could probably stayed in Han and made good money and all, but it was just not. There was just no competition for us at the time. It was kind of the same story that the Fnatic lineup had with Noto and Fly and those guys.
Okay, so you guys were doing well, and like you said, there was a couple of months where it was sort of uncontested victories for you. And some fans asked me to bring this up to you, and I thought it was interesting. Do you ever regret taking so long to make the move to Dota? Do you think that hurt your team, or do you think that it helps your team?
I definitely don't think it hurts our team. We were definitely not like one of the strongest team in Han for that long. I don't think I would have been where I am now in Dota if I hadn't stayed in Han and become like a pro player in there. Like I would have probably been in school right now if I didn't have Han. So like being a pro player in Han made me like believe in myself more that I could do the same thing in Dota. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I guess so I think it made sense for us to stay for some time more. Yeah.
Awesome. So the late move may sort of helped your team in the sense of it built a lot of confidence and gave you a chance to make that way over. Now, regarding moving to Dota from Han, I know for a fact that some things are better here. In fact, I have a video for the viewers, so we're going to watch this real quick. This is from the Heroes of Newerth Grand Finals in 2013. This was a $60,000 prize pool. So in 2013, $60,000 prize pool is a pretty solid amount of money to make. So I'm going to show this video. It is the introduction segment for the tournament itself, and then we'll talk a little bit about what else has changed besides maybe some production value issues. So without further ado, here is that video.
Well, I'm here to introduce the 4 teams that have qualified for this event, and I'm going to start with the wildcard team, and that is the one and only Lions eSports Club. Starting off with the team, they're led by their captain and jungle player, Handsken.
This is uncomfortable.
It is.
There we go.
I'm the first one to go as well.
All right. Next up, we got the suicide
Well, the fact that
roll.
they didn't even start the music until you walked out, it just makes it so good.
There was actually no music in the venue as well.
Oh, really? So it's just played over, like, only the stream heard it. Oh, my God.
After that, playing some
Were
hard
there
carry
fans sitting there
is
who could have been cheering, or was it just empty in the stadium?
That was actually like a suite in the Palms Hotel in Las Vegas.
On the
So there was
solo
no,
ganker
like,
roll,
venue for
we got
audience at all.
Super
It was like intended as a closed
KGE.
event. So yeah.
We'll watch the introduction of the team, and then we'll
And
we'll
last
flip
but
back
not
over.
least, on support, Seal Kid.
I feel bad. He's trying so hard to build hype. He's trying so
Yeah.
hard.
And that'll round it out for your Lions Esports Club. Good luck, guys. Woo, 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 woo.
That basketball hoop, that's the win right there. All right, so
All right, next
we're
up,
back.
and the third seed.
That was fun. I think that was a good example, though, of the transition, right? 2013 was sort of a transition years for esports. It was the idea that we were going from fun lands where I think there's a lot of forgiveness for production value, because really we're just we're fans of a game who want to watch it played, to what we have now, which is sponsors and flash and pizzazz and let's get this thing to ESPN. So there's a little bit of an excuse for that. But besides the fact that I think we could probably argue Dota has a little bit of a higher production value at their LAN events at the moment, is there anything else you see from the transition that maybe Dota does better or that we could improve on?
Well, as you said, production value is definitely a lot better in Dota. And one thing that is really noticeable as well is that there's just so much more, content in like tournaments. Like in Han, the system was that you played in the season for like every weekend for the entire year, and there was like kind of monopolized in the way that S2 Games, which is the like what Valve is for Dota, the creator, I guess you could say, they were hosting all of the tournaments that there was. So that's a big difference. I hope that answers the question a little bit.
Yeah, I think it does. Now, do you think that, I mean, your team plays in a lot of tournaments. You guys have been working really hard to sort of build your name, build your brand, get noticed. Obviously, TI is on the way, and we'll talk about that in a second. And part of that's getting the recognition to get the invite. Was there ever a point we sort of looked back at the old Han system and said, man, I sort of wish there were less tournaments. I sort of wish I had some time off instead of the insane amount of gaming that you're doing on a regular basis right now?
Well, sometimes you wish you had more time to see your friends and stuff, but I don't really think that it's too much of a problem. You have to do what you have to do to be a professional gamer, and we've been working really hard to get ourselves, as you said, the name out and possibly a TI invite. So I don't really regret it. If we get to TI, I think it's all going to be worth it. So
awesome, and we'll talk more about TI in a little while. Before we do that, though, we have one more topic I want to chat about, then we'll take a quick commercial break for a word from our sponsors. But one topic that came up a lot when I talked to fans, as well as sort of over the last few months, is the departure of Ape Mother from Ninjas in Pyjamas, and the bringing on of the new player in the form of Limp. Now, Ian Barker from Daily Dot actually wrote an article about the release of Ape Mother, and in it he said that it was due to and I'm quoting him here, a period of slumping performance that handicapped the squad during a busy competitive season. Do you think that is a good way to sum up the decision, or is that all there is to it, or was there more that went on in that process?
I guess that's a pretty good summary of what the viewer could see. To us, it was not something that he played bad or during the time, or he was choking or whatever. He had a slump, nothing like that at all. It was more about play style and the way he wanted to play the Dota, and felt like we played a bit different. And he's a really good player, a really good guy, but he was just not the mid player we wanted. If that makes sense,
It does. So,
yeah.
What is it about Limp? Because I think we can all agree that since Limp's come on, you guys have had some good performances. You've really had some great showings. I mean, third place in two major events, almost back-to-back, in that you went to the Dota All-Stars, and then you went to the MLG Pro Columbus, and both of them had really good showings. What did Limp bring to the team that sort of allowed you guys to really take a surge forward?
Well, the guy is truthfully one of the best mid players I've played with. Maybe not in Dota, he's not recognized that way, but he was definitely the number one mid laner in Han. So we definitely had a lot of belief in him and putting him in skillful matchups and stuff like that. Also as well that he has a lot of initiative. He wants to do stuff. He's really aggressive, and he's really vocal in game as well. So that helps. I think that covers most of it.
How important do you think that is as the sort of caller for the team? You're the guy who's in charge of talking, who says what's, theoretically, and I'm sure it's not always this way, makes the in-game calls, and I'm sure everybody sort of contributes here and there. How valuable is it when you're working with a team, when you're looking for team players, and this is for all of those aspiring pro players out there, to have a mid, to have a carry, to have a partner on the team that is verbal, that uses words, that likes to help with the calls, versus, say, pinging when someone is missing? Does it matter, or is it not a big deal?
I think it matters a lot. Like, not all of my teammates have to be like that, but I would definitely like kill myself if I didn't have like at least one or two guys that wants to talk with me a lot about stuff. Like, I definitely don't want to be the only one making calls and like. I want to have a conversation while playing the game, not like I don't want to be a dictator.
Okay, that makes sense. That is important, and I think it sounds like Limp brings a little bit of that to the team in the terms of that dialogue. That's really good information. I hope that helps with some of the folks who were questioning the Limp process. That said, guys, we do have to pause for a word from our sponsors, so stick around. We're back in about 30 seconds, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about TI, expectations, some questions from your fans, and whether or not a nip-off is still on the table. So stay with us. This is Coffee with Toffees.
Razer Comms is a free all-in-one communication tool that allows you to stay in touch with friends both in and out of the game. With features such as friendless, groups, mobile SMS forwarding, and call notifications, Razer Comms is a communication solution for the dedicated gamer. Razer Comms' minimal in-game overlay has a panel that grabs all your messages and lets you see who is speaking in a voice call without interrupting your game.
Now I'll always know who's breathing into the mic.
It's always me.
By pairing Razer Comms Mobile with your PC, your friends can call you, no matter where you are.
All right, we're back here. Welcome back. I'm here with Handsken from Ninjas in Pyjamas, and let's talk about the elephant in the esports room, and that is the International, the big event. Now, in an interview with Aftonblade in January, you said that the expectation as well as the goal for now is to reach TI and perform as well as we possibly can over there. We want NIP to be one of the strongest teams in the world. Then, in another interview with them, the same group, in March, you said, an invite might not be crystal clear for us right now, but we should make it through the qualifiers, and I believe it stands between us and some other European teams when you look at who might be invited from the EU scene. Do you think that those statements still stand true? Are there a few teams standing between you and the direct invite, or do you think that you have squelched some of that?
I think like what I said previously still stands in a sense, but I think what do you say, like, our expectations has been raised a little bit. Maybe not like a crystal clear invite, as I also said before, but I think I also said in another interview recently that if we wouldn't make it to TI, it would be like a huge disappointment for us at this point. So yeah, I guess it's been raised. The bar has been raised a little bit.
So I don't know if you're aware of this or if anybody tells you, but what we started doing recently is we've actually been polling the media on a weekly basis for the last couple of weeks to gain power rankings and sort of get the opinions of casters, analysts, people who live Dota and say, based on what you've seen in play, how are these teams? How does a CIS team who almost never gets to play a Chinese team, how do you rank them against each other? And the only way you could come up with is what does the media think about performance? And Ninjas in Pyjamas, the first week you did it was 11th on the ranking list. They moved up to 10. So you guys are considered by many of the media professionals in Dota 2 one of the top 10 teams in the world. When you look at yourselves and you look at the team list that's out there, are there any teams that you look at and you say, these are our biggest bar to European direct invite? Or do you think that honestly, you're at the point where there's not but anybody who really imparts fear as far as Europe goes?
Like, as far as TI invites, I think we'd be kind of stupid to assume that we would get an invite over Secret, Cloud9, or Empire at this point. They've just been playing really good lately and all throughout the year, and we're a bit newer than those teams, or I guess they made roster changes, but yeah, I don't think we have a fear of playing anyone, like in a matchup-wise, but yeah, like I say, if there's anyone that we have trouble with beating, that's been Empire for sure. So
yeah, it seems like you guys have a little bit of a thing going on there. It's it's interesting to see. That said, so it sounds like you guys have sort of got the mindset of we're going to have to go through qualifiers.
Well, it really depends on how many invites they want to spend on the European region. So we'll see. But like, we're not counting on an invite, but it will be really sweet. But we're not counting on it.
Have you guys begun to train for the qualifiers already?
Oh yeah, like we're practicing in like almost 6-7 days a week anyway. So like,
that's a good point actually. That you bring that up, and we'll ask this now. Are you able to share with us what your actual week looks like in terms of practice and how much Dota is Ninjas in Pyjamas playing on a weekly basis?
Oh, well, yeah, sure. Like, it really depends on how many games we have and if we've been to LAN and such. But generally, we have like one day off, which is usually Saturday, unless something else is going on, like somebody has something to attend to. But we try to scrim from either 15 or 16 p.m. to like 21 or 22 every single day we can. Or like sometimes, depends, if we have like important games, we might not scrim like for 6 hours right before the game to get exhausted right before. But
Right.
we usually like play 1 or 2 warm-up games, depending on how important the game is. We scrim more or less, and it depends on how the situation is.
Nice. Okay, so a lot of practice. You guys are definitely taking it seriously, obviously. Let's talk about TI a little bit and how it affects teams. So in 2015, I'm going to run through some performance numbers for you guys this year. First place finishes that we've seen, guys, we saw eSportal 3, Alienware Area 51 were both first place finishes. We got third place in MLG Pro Season 1, Major All-Stars, and eSportal 2, as well as Starladder 11. And then in I-League, I think we were in the ballpark of, I think it was like a 6th, 7th deal.
Yeah, we actually finished last at tournament. So.
There you go. But you still made money off of that, so that's something. But the point of that is that the total earnings for 2015, if you sort of add up the prize pools, and keep in mind, guys, this is a rough estimate because these prize pools sort of move and shift with ticket purchases and stuff. But the rough idea is, as a team, you've made about $46,000 in prize earnings from these events. That said, 7th place at TI last year paid out $489,000. So how does that affect your perception as a team, right? I mean, the theory is you as a team say, hey, if we can place above 7, we can make significantly more money than finishing first at half of the other major events, most of the other major events that went on this year. I mean, MLG Columbus, I think the winner took home something in the ballpark of $40,000 for winning the LAN. How does that affect not only your team, but I think teams in general when you start to look at TI?
Well, I mean, if like TI is obviously super important for every team that's gonna play Dota, like, but it's also for us, especially, it's a matter of actually getting to TI, and like we have to really perform in all of these tournaments that has been prior to it to actually get there, because we're new, like we're comparatively new to the other teams that's been around for a lot longer. But yeah, so the tournaments are actually like, I wouldn't say we value any tournament less or like address them in any way lesser than TI in that sense. But I guess like we're gonna have, if we make the TI, we're gonna have a lot more preparation, especially specifically for that tournament, like specifically for matchups and stuff like that. But I don't think like we're playing any like trying to. Let me think of a good way to put this. Like we don't put less effort into these tournaments than we would have in TI anyway, but we would just be more, what do you say, like more specific about who we're facing and like specifically practicing for that tournament really, really hard.
So, and I think a term that we use in the States when somebody sort of sits back and waits for the big show is something we call like sandbagging, you know, sort of like building a wall, sort of surviving until you get to the big thing. Do you think that the huge disparagence, the huge difference between the prize pools at TI and the prize pools everywhere else besides maybe DAC, and even that's a bit of a stretch, encourages top teams, especially in the ballpark when we talk about EG or Secret, or even, you know, C9 and Empire, who I think are in that sort of top 5 grouping right now, to sandbag, to sort of step back into the tournaments and say, we're not going to play our best stuff, we're going to keep things secret, because, you know, at the end of the day, we've got the money to survive till TI, and we want to pull it all out and get the big prize? Or do you think that everyone sort of treats these tournaments like it's a good practice venue?
No, well, I don't think it's a good idea to save things for TI, because the meta is all going to be different. It's going to be different patches and stuff like that. But I definitely think that teams select their tournaments, like, which they want to play a bit more carefully. Like, I know for a fact that EG, like, declines a lot of tournaments, and they're obviously one of the top contenders for TI as well. So yeah, for the absolute top teams, they might not consider playing the tournaments that they don't value as much, maybe in terms of prize money or just rough travels or whatever the reason might be. I know that's happening, but like saving strats or like, I don't think that's a good idea for them, but I don't think it's
Okay.
I hope that, yeah.
Okay, that's I mean, I guess, and you bring up an interesting point that I think we don't think about very often. A lot of people are mad about the patch that we're currently in. There's Overpowered Heroes. It's been way too long since the last patch. Bring us some new stuff, Volvo. And now we know that after Starladder, there is a patch on the way. IceFrog has tweeted that out. Do you think that, and maybe they do, that Valve does this consciously? They know that by holding the last patch before TI to the last possible minute, it forces the pro scene to still stay fresh. Like you said, it means that no one's saving pocket strategies. Nobody has there's less time to sort of develop that secret stuff for TI, and it makes TI sort of a fresh initiation of the game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a conscious decision by them. Like they it's gonna be like 1 or 2 months before TI the patch is gonna be out. I guess, but I think still it's a good idea by them. I mean, like all the previous TIs, I think we've seen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the tournament is so long, so we've seen, like, the meta change, like, inside of the tournament.
Yeah.
And new heroes gets brought through every single time. So I think definitely they want that to be a thing for that specific tournament. And, yeah, obviously they're in charge, so they're pulling all the strings.
Well, and it keeps it from getting stale, right? I mean, I think that we can all vouch for I think it was at MLG Columbus. A certain team may have picked Troll Warlord and gotten booed on stage when they did it. And that, I think, comes from the fact that, a patch has been out so long. But with the way that Valve seems to do it, in 2 months, there's going to be so much to discover at TI that anything could happen. And I think that that's really exciting. So when that patch notes come out, when you guys get that stuff after Starladder, what does it look like for your team at the start of a new patch? Do you have any special stuff that you do to get into it, or is it just, hey, let's scrim and see what happens?
I think it's definitely a lot more attention on matchmaking and maybe in-house playing by yourself, discovering things, and then we might not for scrims right now if we're gonna play a big match, we might just play a warm-up game. Hey, let's draft exactly like we would have in a tournament game. We might do that for a tournament, for a game, but when there's a new patch, we tend to just try to scrim. Maybe try to avoid playing tournament games every single night, if that's possible. And you see what it scrim a lot, just look at other teams as well, see what they do, and try to remember stuff, maybe write things down if needed, and discover and see what style fits us for the meta.
Okay. What are your plans post TI? Is this I ask this to players a lot, and I think traditionally this is Dota and this is eSports, and most teams are yeah, we're gonna see what happens in TI and then maybe we'll stay together. And it's just them being brutally honest. Your team seems to have a much longer history of players sticking together. Do you guys foresee shifts after TI based on performance, or is it something where, we feel comfortable with our roster and this is just what it's gonna be and we're gonna keep slogging it out?
Well, I can't promise that anything I say now might stand true by then, but I definitely think I don't see us switching just because of a bad tournament at TI if that was the case. But I could be wrong. But I definitely see myself staying with these guys for another good time.
Awesome.
And definitely after TI vacation.
I think we like to hear that, and hopefully it does stand true. Obviously, who knows what'll happen in the post TI shuffle? $10 million changes a lot of things, so we'll see how that plays out. But moving to a more serious topic, and this is something that a lot of folks in North America or in Dota in general may not know, and that is less than a year ago. I think it was July 11th. You and the rest of the guys from the team, who at the time were together, lost I would say a comrade and a friend in the form of, I think I'm saying it correctly, is it Fuzi?
Yeah, that's correct.
And it was a lot of stuff that happened around it. We won't go into details, other than for folks who are watching who may be new to Ninjas in Pyjamas. A friend who played with them had an issue and did pass away unexpectedly and suddenly. And it was sort of a tragic situation, and in a lot of ways for me, a bit of an eye-opener, a tale of how maybe stepping out of your comfort zone sometimes can be a little bit of a risk. That said, I wanted to ask you, how did the loss of Fuzi impact your career and sort of the path of the team?
Well, I'd say that when Fuzi passed, I think that definitely didn't make us want to play Han anymore. I think the thing that we had for Han was the team. we had so much fun playing together, and like as well as maybe like we didn't enjoy Han that much anymore, but it was definitely a case where we didn't not want to look for another teammate to play Han further with, and like maybe take a break. We would, as I said before, we had actually started playing Dota with him a bit as well, and we were kind of looking to play that game with him as well, but so we were kind of, I guess we were kind of like off. How do you say that? Like we were not in a direct path of where to go. We were kind of like disoriented, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that was, maybe not the impetus, but a big part of the sort of just transition from Han to a new game incomplete? Or
No.
that was already in path?
Like it was already in path, but if there was not a clear decision before, this definitely made it to be like 100% happening.
Okay. It's been almost a year. I think we're about 2 months away from the anniversary.
Yep.
Do you have any thoughts on the situation or anything that, like, for fans who have been with you guys for a long time? I know that it was sort of a quiet, everything around the event and the loss of him was internalized for obvious reasons. It was a very tough time for everyone. Is there any thoughts on the situation or anything you want to share with those fans now in terms of just some words for them, or is it still something that you guys are internalizing regularly?
I don't really want to talk about like details or anything, but I just want to say that like a good guy. I enjoy playing with him a lot. I hadn't known him for that long, maybe like a year and a half, but I would still call him one of my best friends. And if you guys want to know more about who he is, you can just Google the name Fuzi or watch some YouTube videos that Tobacco's made in honor by him. So
excellent, check it out. And that's I think it was a tough loss for the Han community in general. And I feel like it's a loss for the Dota community. Is it's somebody that we would have had among our ranks had that not happened. So the name, by the way, guys, if you want to look it up and see some of the tributes, it's Fuzi. It's Fuzi. Simple spelling for a guy who I think was a force to be reckoned with in the world of Heroes of Newerth, and is sincerely missed in a lot of different ways. So we'll move on from that. Let's find something a little happier to talk about. And I'm going to bring this up because it was brought up on Reddit. Tyromatic put it on Reddit right out of the gate when I put up the questions, and 44 upvotes appeared on this question, and he said the community definitely wants to know, will the Ninjas in Pyjamas throwdown between the CSGO and the Dota 2 team still happen?
Well, it's definitely in the plans. We haven't decided on a date or anything like that. We kind of discussed it before the redemption world was settled. Like that, we definitely want to do it, even if it's not like connected to the redemption world specifically. And we had actually had plans of maybe doing something like this even before this was even before the Summit redemption vote. Yeah. So but there was just a good opportunity to reveal it, but I think it will definitely happen. It remains to see when specifically it will happen and how it's going to be, if it's going to be mixed teams or just the Dota squad versus the CS squad, and all the specifics are basically undetermined, but I think it's safe to say that it's going to happen sometime.
Nice. Does the Dota squad, do you guys play CSGO to blow off steam, or are you completely, is it completely foreign to you?
Well, I actually played like right before this interview, but me and Lim play a lot of CS together, and Jonas plays some as well. And especially Silkid and Era not so much, but when we were in boot camps, we kind of 5-man stack sometimes to blow some steam off, so it's pretty cool.
I was going to say, it seems to me, from my experience, Dota players tend to play CSGO, like for fun. But CSGO players tend not to play Dota as often. Like if you're a born, bred, bleed CSGO fan, you tend not to ever play the sort of style of game that Dota 2 is. So maybe there will be an advantage if you guys play team versus team in sort of a Dota versus CSGO. Because all you gotta do is take a couple of rounds off of them, because you know they're gonna have a hell of a time trying to make Dota 2 work.
Yeah, so I would agree with the statement that you said before, but actually I believe that all of the NIP CS players play Dota 2.
Oh,
maybe
no.
not super actively, but they have tried it, so yeah.
So we'll see some filthy sniper pickers is what the moral of the story here is. But that's it. That's good news, guys. That means the nip-off is going to happen. We don't know when, but it looks like it's coming down the pipelines. And I think that fans will be really excited. Ninjas in Pyjamas is an organization that's been around for a while that is a huge fan favorite. I mean, I watched the CSGO finals last year when Ninjas in Pyjamas was playing in it, and it was just the excitement when they announced Ninjas in Pyjamas was always really cool to see. The excitement when you guys signed with them and they were coming to Dota was palpable. It was really cool, and I'm excited about seeing that sort of crossover experience. Now, Tank brought this up on Reddit. He asked, when you guys first started appearing on the scene with Ninjas in Pyjamas, you were sort of called the comeback boys for a bit due to the amount of games you managed to win after being severely behind. And then he says, lately, I don't feel like that's true. It seems like it's an opposite trend, where you tend to be able to get out ahead early and then be giving up some of these big leads. Do you think that that's a true statement? And if it is, what do you think's going on?
I can definitely agree with it in some ways. I think it's slightly due to a change of metagame, and our playstyle has developed as a result of the metagame changing. I don't know. Definitely, before we used to play a lot more greedy. We would play Stark and Doom and Midas Heroes and try to be try to avoid fights as much as possible. But ever since time grew, we gained more confidence, and we like to be the ones putting the pressure a lot more now. And we sometimes have a problem with throwing games, but I think that's, I don't know, the metagame is, to me, is kind of weird right now. Like, high grounding is really hard, and seems to me like the game right now is just based off getting the first Roshan, roll over the game, but not end it, just starve it. So, I don't know, sometimes we just get too overconfident and take bad decisions and stuff like that.
So keeping that in mind, do you have any predictions for where 6.84 is going? Do you think there'll be any big changes we should...
I don't have any info at all about it, but I would definitely think that they would nerf Roshan, like how easy it is to kill for physical characters like Juggernaut or Troll, and also some of the heroes that are really good for high ground defense and like how that dynamic works, and as well as tweaks for some certain heroes, which you all know.
Now, do you think, and this is an interesting question for me, because the Western scene seems to really believe this, and the Eastern scene maybe not as much. Do you think Troll Warlord is just way too strong right now, or do you think that it's just the Western style of play doesn't have an answer for him?
I don't think he's super duper overpowered that people seem to put him. I think there's definitely counters to the hero, but I just think the style of play that the hero offers and how the meta is right now, it's just so good for, it's like it just works with, like we see a lot of teams play mid carries as well, like a secondary carry, like Stormspray, Queen of Pain, stuff like that, or even Sniper. So it really enables them to be a lot more forceful, and as well as killing Roshan, as I said. I mean, it's just a good hero for that. It's one of the best carries as well. I think it might be a little bit too good right now, but with a slight nerf, I don't think it would be that much of a problem.
Okay. Sephiroth021 wants to know, do you think that there are any teams with the potential to surprise everyone at TI? And if so, who are they?
Let me see. Like, I definitely think there's some teams that has potential right now, but some of them might not even make it to TI.
Right.
So it's hard to tell. Yeah.
While you're thinking about that, let me ask you about this. Something that's come up, and this is an interesting avenue, is regen stacking. The idea of teams like, for instance, Team Tinker has moved all of their practice headquarters and their entire team to Canada. Some say for better internet connections or for more functionality. Some say because the North American scene is ripe for the picking, if you will, in terms of qualifiers. My team Malaysia and SEA that was recently brought back there used to be Orange. Orange was a great team and is now dominating the region. Do you think that this is something that we should have expected, or is this something that is kind of a bummer? Because moving those teams, like, we can argue that when Tinker moves to Canada, North American teams who would normally have gotten to qualifiers, and we might have seen a dark horse make it to TI, probably not going to happen now. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing for the scene that we're seeing teams shift around like that?
Honestly, it's hard to tell. Like, I don't think I have a really good answer for it. Okay. I think, like, that's just what's gonna happen. I don't know if it's a bad thing or good, or a good thing. But yeah.
Okay, so did you have a chance to think of anybody who you think might be a surprise at TI, or do you think that it's going to be the same old names as usual?
I think if it will be right now, I would say Navi. The new roster looks really promising to me, and Arcstyle's drafting has been right on point. So I think it's them. If I had to pick one right now, but it's hard to predict. It's about 2 months still for the tournament, so we'll see.
Yeah, there's a ways to go, but like you said, they've made a huge surge lately. In fact, they were somebody who I think was even considered in the contest a while ago. 2 weeks ago, they moved up to 18 in the power rankings, and this week they moved up to 15. So they're a team that people have been noticing, and I think you're right. They could be a really interesting move as we get to TI. Which brings me to a good question somebody brought up on Reddit, and they asked, do you think, and this was from Isalud, do you think that previous TI champs like Na'Vi, IG, Alliance, or Newbie deserve to be directly invited to TI, regardless of their performance throughout the year, or do you think that every year it should be a blank slate?
I think that the previous year's champions should be invited, but not the ones before that.
Makes sense. Okay, I can see that. Sort of what the Summit does with their tournament, where VG gets to come back because they're defending the crown. That makes sense to me. It's tough, though, to see teams like, in Dota 2, Na'Vi, Alliance, these teams are legendary for their performance, and honestly, we could probably argue that Dota 2 and eSports wouldn't be as big as they were if it wasn't for the $1 Million Dream Coil, if it wasn't for personalities like Dendi, who you can't help but fall in love with when you watch an interview. And I think that there is the argument of, well, what about these legacy teams? Do they deserve a chance to prove themselves as they continue, to move forward in Dota 2? And that's a tough area for those of you who are listening for, I think, Valve to deal with. Bracer Crane asked me, if you could build an Xhan Dream Team, who would be on it?
I think my team that I have right now is really close to it, actually.
Okay.
I have to say what I have right now is really good, because it would not make sense to do something else. But yeah, if someone asked me or told me 2 years ago, hey, you're gonna be playing Dota competitively with Era, Limp, Silkit, and Jonas, I would be fucking shitting my pants by then. But I don't know, there's a lot of good HUN players that merged, went to Dota.
Yeah.
I think I'm not gonna put together a dream team, but No Zero, good example. All of those guys from Fnatic, everyone that was in Complexity, Moonman, Riser, Swindleman, Sea Freak, all of those guys are really good players. Marnuts. There's a lot of good players to choose from. It's hard to make a dream team.
Okay. So what you're saying is that you'd like to play with any of those guys. You'd enjoy playing with my nuts.
Yeah, sure. I would not exchange anyone from my current team for him, but yeah, sure.
Okay. Emo Rockstar asks, your most played hero in 6.83 is Chen. You've got 26 games on him in this iteration. 16-10 is your win-loss. Is he your favorite hero, or do you think he just fits with the current patch better than others?
I don't think he's my favorite hero by any means, but he's definitely one of my the hero that I'm the most confident in. Maybe not the specific one, but one of the most confident, comfort zone heroes, I guess. I was really known for my Ophelia in Han, which is pretty much, it's very similar to Chen in the way how it works. It's a jungler. The way that Han meta was back when we played was that there was always a jungler, no matter what the game was. So I was always a position for jungling player, and Silky was always the support.
Gotcha.
So jungling definitely is comfort zone for us. And I think when the patch hit, it was a long time ago now, but when the patch hit that made him get 4 creeps and the ability to teleport the creeps to himself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, when that came, I think that made a hero super strong.
Absolutely.
So I think it's just a good hero. Maybe not the best suited for the meta, because high ground pushing is not really optimal right now. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think it's a good hero.
Okay. And then, this is a good question, I think, that is good for us to know and for upcoming teams that dream of going pro. And we'll actually close out before we sign out with this question. And Achilles asks, what do you guys do to recover from games where you were emotionally hit because you know you could have won the game and didn't? Whether that's a throw or just from the get-go, you feel like this was my game and it didn't work out.
It's a bit different from person to person. I know that Era and Jonas, they don't really want to talk when we lose games like that, but me, myself, I try to not. I think me and Skillkid mostly are the people that don't really want to talk about it, and maybe like focus on something else. Like just talk about something, whatever it might be. Like if we're on LAN, we watch a movie or like talk about something that's happening, or like it really depends. Like if we have, maybe if you're through the game 1 in a series, just try to focus on what's going to happen in like the draft for game 2 or whatever, and maybe not think about it right there and then. And maybe go back like when we get home and see what we did wrong and stuff like that. But it's really different. It really differs from person to person, I'd say.
Okay. Interesting. Well, guys, that's about the time that we have for today. So before we send out, I do want to thank everybody who's watching. If you're watching live, if you're watching on the podcast, if you're listening on iTunes, Android, SoundCloud, YouTube, there are so many avenues to download the show. But if you're listening, we appreciate it. If you are on the podcast, I ask you to go ahead and hit that review button and leave a message so that we can continue to grow the podcast market. A big thank you to the sponsors. Again, Razer, the guys over at mm1.fm, and Betway Betting. We really appreciate you guys supporting the growth of esports and the scene, even on a small scale. And obviously, thank you to our guest, Handsken, for being here today. Do you have any last thoughts or shout-outs that you want to share before we log out for the night?
Just a shout-out to NIP, Fuzi, and to you, Toffees. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you again for being here. Thanks to everybody for watching. It's been a good time. We'll have this posted very soon. Probably I'll do the YouTube after baseball practice tonight. And then we will have everything up and running, and got some other stuff coming for you this evening or this week. Hopefully later this week I'll have a representative of BTS on to talk a little bit about the invite process for the Summit 3 and what we can expect as we move into that tournament in 2 weeks. If they're not here this week, we'll get them here next week. So we should have some fun stuff upcoming. But that said, thanks for being here. My name is Toffees, and as always, guys, Toffees out. We're good. Or we will be in a second.
Nice.